Today, I'm drawing airlines from around the world until we have them all. Yes, like almost every airline. Man, this is really just gonna be a long series to take. Huh? So anyways, you might remember that last time we left off with these amount of airlines here. Starting from Spirit Airlines all the way ending to Virgin America. And yes, I listed their most popular aircraft on there. So yeah, it was pretty legit. But there was only one issue. I forgot two airlines from that video. One that is Avelo, and two, the most recent airline that was formed like 4 years ago, Breeze Airways. So in this part, I'm going to include those two airlines along with the regional brands of American, Delta, United, and Alaska Airlines. And possibly some old airlines that you might have never heard of that were mostly powered by American Airlines. So anyways, let's go. Level 1, Breeze Airways. Now for Breeze Airways, I don't think it's that hard just for level 1. So let's go ahead and use blue and gray. Alright, so we gotta include the BRE and then the other E. I'm pretty sure it's just like a normal word for breeze. And then there's two E's and an E and a Z. And then there's the E right here. Alright. There we go. And I'm pretty sure there's like a check mark on it. So I'm going to include it in like dark blue. Alright, we got breeze. And now let's also include the check mark. Also, let me know in the comments if I should fly on Breeze Airways. Now, their most popular aircrafts, they only have like two variants of aircraft, the A220 and some Embraer plane. So I'm just going to straight up just include the A220 as their most popular aircraft. There we go, we got A220. Now it's time to go on to Level 2, Delta Connection. Now for Delta Connection, it's just like the Delta Airlines logo, but kind of a bit like just instead of the word airlines, it's just replaced with like the word connection. Oh, I forgot to include airlines. After writing the word airlines on Breeze Airways, okay, you might have heard the word airlines, but I just read it airways. Anyways, let's go on to Delta Connection. So for Delta Connection, I'm just going to straight up use blue and red, and possibly black for the word connection. So let's go ahead and draw the logo. Just once again, same as Delta, but with the word connection. Alright, there we go. Alright, let me go get that scratch on my back. Alright, we are going to include, I was planning on including airlines, but I'm not going to do that. Actually, should I just include gray or something, or just keep with black? I'm actually going to just use gray. Delta Connection. I'm pretty sure there's two N's. I do not know. I'm pretty sure there's just like one N. Alright, that is Delta Connection. Now I know they only operate Bombardier and Embraer stuff. So let's just include one of their popular aircraft. The CRJ 700. Because that's like one of the only CRJ aircraft that I know. So now let's move on to level 3, Velo. Now for Velo Airlines, I don't think it's that difficult. I don't have the models of it, so we'll be considered cheating. So for the colors, I'm going to use these two colors here and possibly cyan. Possibly cyan. I'm just going to try drawing the logo of... Actually, Avella is just going to be the final boss. Level 3 is just going to be American Eagle. Now for American Eagle, it's just like before. I'm going to use these three colors right here. And then instead of airlines, it's Eagle. So let's go ahead and draw American Eagle. Let's just gonna save Avella for like the final boss. Let's see if I can like get... Okay, there we go. Alright, there we go. We got red. Alright, next gray. Now it's time for this part. Now it's time for the words American Eagle. Alright, there we go. Now, once again, they only use Bombardier and CRJ just like Delta. So, I'm going to include the CRJ 700. Alright, now it's time for Level 4, United Express. Now for United Express, I'm going to just use the same color that I did for United, like yesterday, I think. Which is just going to be blue. And then possibly for the word Express, it's going to be using gold. Let's see if I have gold in here. Oh, there it is. I found it. Here, and then we're going to use gold for the word Express. So I'm going to go draw United Express. I'm pretty sure it's just United Express with like the gold on it. Alright, that's one. Whoops, that's the wrong gold. Hold on, let me go find the right gold. After finding gold, alright, I finally found it. Okay, now we're back. Okay, so let's go ahead and place down the word express. Alright, now once again, just like American Eagle and Delta Connection, United Express uses like CRJ and Embraer. And I'm pretty sure I saw a CRJ like either 100 or 200 over there, so I'm just going to include the CRJ 200. I'm pretty sure it was a 200, or actually no, it probably was a 700, since all the other ones were using a CRJ 700. So now let's go on to Level 5, US Airways. Now while I draw the logo of US Airways, I want to give some little history about US Airways. So let's go draw the logo of US Airways. US Airways was once an airline that operated in America during like from the early 20th century until it was acquired by American Airlines back in like 2000. Their most famous accident was the Miracle on the Hudson, which was the AKA Flight 1549, and that was way before like the September 11th attacks. And likely before, U.S. Airways only operated consisting of fleet of like mostly Airbus and Boeing, and possibly CRJ stuff, and like during like their regional company called U.S. Airways Express. All right, I actually just finished drawing the U.S. Airways logo, and now let's go ahead and put its most popular plane, and I know it was from the Miracle of the Hudson, which is the A320. And boom, there we go. We got the word A320 in there. Now it's time for Level 6 PSA Airlines. Now for PSA, I'm actually also kinda am going to include history about PSA. But for the colors, if you want to know, it's going to be orange, black, and red. Alright, let's draw PSA. PSA Airlines, a classic airline that used to operate 727s and Boeing 737-300 200s. And one of their most famous accidents was US PSA Flight 182, a Boeing 727 that crashed from to a Cessna 182 and then crashed in San Diego, California, resulting in all the air passengers on board PSA 182 dying. Rest in peace to all of those victims of PSA Flight 182. Alright, now we're done with PSA. So for their most popular aircraft, it's the Boeing 727, aka the Trijet. Alright, now it's time for Level 7 TWA. Now also, just again, I'm also going to include TWA's history. So I'm just mainly going to use red. So anyways, I'm going to draw TWA. One of the most popular airlines back then. It was one of the biggest carriers of America before it was acquired by American Airlines. Back then, during like 1996, TWA's most popular accident was TWA Flight 800, a Boeing 747 that crashed into the North Atlantic Ocean due to a center wheel fuel tank explosion. And that was resulting in all 200 and something people to die on board the Boeing 747. And that was way before it was eventually acquired by American Airlines in like 2000s. But the TWA, you could still fly on TWA to this day, just only under the American Airlines brand. Alright, we include TWA. I'm not going to fill it in because the A is already like off center, but for their aircraft, it's the Boeing 747. Alright, now it's time for Level 8 FedEx and UPS and Prime Air. Now, technically, I know these three do not count as like airlines, but hey, I'm gonna include them in since they came from the USA. So for FedEx, I'm gonna use purple and then orange, since FedEx is literally like that. I don't know if that's the right purple. Let me see if I have the right purple. Oh, wait. Okay, here it is. I guess I'm gonna include this one. And we also have to shade it in. Alright, there we go. Alright, we got the FED. And I noticed that I accidentally shaded in the E, but I accidentally did that, so I'm sorry. And then now we got the words E and X. Fun fact, did you know that in the FedEx logo, if you look between the E and the X, there's a secret arrow? I'm glad you didn't notice. But hey, it's in there till this day. You had to see it before they change the logo. If they ever. Hopefully it doesn't. Alright. There's FedEx and their most popular aircraft. Well, it's actually most recently it's the MD-11. I'm kind of sad that they're kind of grounded right now. And then I think most all of these are probably going to be MD-11s for like FedEx and UPS, but except Prime Air, which I'm going to include as a Boeing 767. Alright, now it's time for a UPS. Alright, for UPS, I'm going to include gold and black. Let's go draw. Now, for UPS, it's kind of just a shield. Looks like a shield. Like that. Now let's go ahead and put the golden letters in it. Alright, we got UPS. I'm trying my best to shade it in as possible. Right. Alright, there we go. Alright. Now, once again, their most popular aircraft is the MD-11 UPS Flight 2937. Yeah, that crash was kind of devastating. I think probably by the end of 2025, I'm probably gonna like make all the aviation accidents in like 2025 this year. Anyways, now it's time for Prime Air, or basically Amazon. Alright, so for Prime Air, I'm just going to use either cyan or just dark blue. I'm thinking cyan, or actually it's kind of white. So actually, I'm just going to make it cyan so that you all can see it. And now for their popular aircraft, it's the Boeing 767. Alright, we got all the cargo airlines from the USA. Alright, now it's time for Level 11. A Velo. Now for a Velo, I might as well try drawing the entire logo. Set out the final boss. So let's see, I got purple, yellow, and cyan. And they're mostly kind of like Southwest. They're kind of mostly like Southwest and Sun Country, which basically they all operate 737s. So let's see. I'm gonna try drawing a Velo. Alright, that's the logo. Now it's time for the actual logo. Alright. Alright, let's go. I'm actually gonna put in the B737 in it. I might make a continuation where it's like basically a short so that I might actually draw the actual logo. So now I'm actually going to end the video today by drawing another like two more airlines, and then that's going to make it a wrap. So let's go on to Northwest Airlines and Alaska Horizon. Yep, we're going to include Northwest Airlines. Now, I never heard of Northwest Airlines, so I do not know their fleet, so I'm just going to simply write down NWA. And then possibly a plane. Actually, let's include like the red parts so I can make it special since it's a retired airline. Alright, NWA is in. Now it's time for Alaska Horizon, the regional brand for Alaska Airlines. I kind of got sidetracked since I did not include with those three. Now they use E190s, so I'm pretty just gonna write an E190 in there. And that is gonna conclude the airlines of America, with some of them not existing and some that still exist till this day. Let's go put it next to this thing right here. It's magic time. Alright, when I snap, this thing is going to go right here. There we go. We have the entire all airlines from the United States. Alright, so comment down below what country I should or continent I should do next. I don't think South America has like any airlines there other than GOL or anything like that. So yeah. Comment down below what I should include next. So in order we have Spirit, Delta, American, United, Frontier, JSX, Sun Country, Allegiant, Southwest, Alaska, Hawaiian, JetBlue, Virgin America, Breeze, Delta Connection, American Eagle, United Express, US Airways, PSA Airlines, TWA, FedEx, UPS, Prime Air, NWA, Northwest Airlines, Avelo, and Alaska Horizon. These are all the airlines from the United States. So there we go. Alright, so give this video a like, comment down below, and subscribe so that we can go on to the next continent, which could possibly be Europe. Anyways, bye-bye. Can something beat a Allegiant Airlines holiday?